All right, guys, super interesting pod this week. Tom's currently in his car. I'm moderating half of this episode. Jack Agner has an interview with Brendan Baranowski. Was Chris on that too?
No, Chris. Try to get Chris. Hi, guys. I'm in my car here.
Yeah.
This is all over the place.
This is a chaotically good podcast right here.
I don't even know because I haven't even heard the Jack and Baran interview that they're going to hear before you and I talk about all the other announcements. But, yeah, we're bringing a pod to you in an unperfect way. But
like four different settings right now. This is wild.
Yeah, 4 settings, 2 days, 4 guys.
Overnight edit for Pat.
Overnight edit for Pat. Just the Pipe It Up podcast in its purest form here on episode 242.
Yeah, a ton of news to go over. Transactions, special series. A lot of fun, even though it was kind of a wild times, and we'll get into why we're kind of all over the place. But this is the Pipe It Up podcast. Cue the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. A little bit of a time travel podcast, I think, this episode. I'm kicking it off solo here, and I think Tom and Kyle are going to finish up the second half of the episode later, so you will hear from Tommy. We got a few different announcements. Some big things happened this past week. Number one, let's start off with the retirement announcements. So we have Zach Whalen retiring, longtime Eagle, 9-year player in the league, 2-time All-Star, obviously won that World Series last year with the Eagles, retiring. I got to say, I'm pretty shocked to know that I've outplayed, not outplayed in terms of my statistics, but in terms of my length in MLW, I've outdone Zach Whalen. I thought he was going to be a guy that I definitely retired before. But sad to see him go. We have Brendan Baranowski, who's joining me here in a second, retiring as well. He was a 4-year player, 2-time All-Star, made it to the World Series with the Cobras, as well as his brother Chris is also retiring. And then the last big announcement that we had this past week, if you guys didn't see, was Carter Richard being traded to the Eagles for a conditional 2026 draft pick. Kyle and Tom are going to break that one down for you guys. But I'm here with the man of the hour, Brendan Baranowski. Brendan, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm sad to say that this is your retirement interview. It's, normally our guests are we have much more optimistic ways to like close the episode in terms of, hey, what about this in MLW? What's the next step here? But this is a little bit different, but I'm excited for it nonetheless. So I guess I just want to kick it off. I know you're a recently married man. As a fellow married man, I got to ask how married life is treating you.
It's going well so far, 7 months in. I was dating her for a long time before, so it's pretty much the same, but, just getting older, doing more things, recently bought a house, so moving on in life, as they say. As I know you are too. You got the baby now, and just life goes fast, man.
It does. It flies by. So, did you guys house hunt together? Was that like one of the first things you did?
Yeah. We probably started in February. We just got the house a few weeks ago, but yeah, we were doing that together. And with the housing market, I'm sure none of the younger viewers would understand, but it is a pain in the butt trying to find a place.
It's not fun. I mean, I can't remember specifics, but I'm sure when Sarah and I were going through that, I shared just some of the struggles trying to find a place. It's not very easy. Like, it's stressful and it moves fast. I remember when we were looking for a house, there were like 2 or 3 houses that we didn't really love, but we kind of felt like we weren't going to get a better opportunity than that. And it was either like before we could submit an offer, or essentially like as we had submitted an offer that was just like disgusting compared to like the asking price was accepted. I'm talking like tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes over like what the asking price was. and that's just kind of like the market it is. So I'm happy you guys were able to find a house. I know what that's like. Well, I do have you on to talk, obviously, MLW. So, again, retiring, 4-year player, excuse me, World Series participant. I mean, just like overarching kind of, sum up your career for the folks, like from your eyes, what you've accomplished in MLW, kind of like where you see yourself now in retiring. And I just kind of want to give you the floor to, speak on kind of what are the feelings right now?
Very mixed. And obviously when I started in the league, I kind of knew it would only be a few year thing because I had college, and then after college, I didn't know how things would go, if I'd be able to do it still. So I'm happy I got the 4 years in. Honestly, I had no clue what I was kind of getting in. It's grown so much with all these places I've gotten to go to and events I've got to be at. I'm very happy with the way it went. Obviously, I wish we would have won that World Series back in 22, maybe had a couple better years. But I'm happy I got to spend 4 years. I'm happy with all the guys I've met, all the guys in the league that like now I consider friends. And anytime I see them, I'm sure we'll catch up or whatever. And I'm sure I'll still see a ton around. But overall, I'm happy that I got to do it for 4 years because it's something that, you just kind of step back and you're like, even hopefully years down the road, I'm really happy that I did that. It's forever ingrained on YouTube. I can show my kids and hopefully still their grandkids, like, look how cool Grandpa was 100 years ago. But
yeah, for sure.
Overall, it was fun. I don't regret anything. And that's just kind of how I looked at it, is it was like, this is a lot of fantastic opportunities. I got to go play in LA, in Brooklyn. I met Mark Rober and worked on a video with him. Like, those are awesome things that I'll forever get to say I was in and got to do.
Yeah, man, it's like 4 years just in the blink of an eye. Like the 4 years, it sounds like a long time, but even for me, obviously having been in the year longer, like I can remember 2021 when you got drafted and just coming into the league, and even that feels like yesterday to me. And it's just so cool to like reflect on these moments and just you going through like all the different things that you got to do and accomplish. And you probably came into the league thinking like, yeah, I might be in it for like a year or two and we'll see what happens. And to have a full career is really cool. So out of those years that some of you touched on, I mean, would you say 2022 is probably your favorite year just because you guys had the most success, or was it, your rookie year just being new? Like if you had to pick one, was there a year that stood out to you in your career?
I would say 2022 for sure, and the success adds to that. But truthfully, my rookie year, I was kind of figuring it out, different kind of style of play, and I didn't really know the guys. And my rookie year, we didn't do any of the like trips, like the out-of-state series for our team. So really, I was just driving down, playing a game with them, driving back because I live 2 hours away. But then in 2022, I think we went to the mini MLB series, and that was like the first time I got to spend a weekend with the guys, and you really get to know them. And then just like a couple months later, we got to go to LA together. So it was a lot more fun, spending like time outside of wiffle ball with them, getting to know everybody and getting to know the teams you go with too. I think that's when you really can talk to people, because it's tough when, you just go into the series and you kind of have to get back home because it's getting late and maybe you have to work the next day or you just been there a while. But yeah, 2022, definitely the year I'll remember the most. The 2 trips, making the World Series, it was just so much fun.
I mean, being able to say like you played in SoFi Stadium, like I know you guys, you wish you would have won it, but even just being, like you said, being able to pull up that video for your kids or grandkids and be like, yep, that stadium that you watch on Sundays, Pops played in that one.
Oh yeah.
And I totally agree. We were just talking on the last podcast about how awesome those tournaments and out-of-state series are for that exact reason of getting to know, like you said, not only your own teammates, but the other team as well. Because the Meadows is like a tight ship. It's a business operation. I mean, so are those events, but the Meadows is you're trying to fit in a 3-hour series in a very specific window where you could get everyone to the field. So yeah, maybe that's like a weekday and you got to work the next day, or it's getting late and dark and you got to get home. But those out of state series are a blast. So I guess looking back on that, do you maybe have like, I got to imagine you got to have a few memories from those trips that are just I'll never forget these memories, like either a funny moment, something silly, like in the hotel room, or even something that happened during the game. Like, is there one or two that stick out to you?
I remember this past year for Brooklyn, I thought that was probably the most fun out of state series we had. We were played pretty early in the morning, if I remember. We were done by maybe noon or 1. And then after it, we're on Coney Island. We just get to go hang out with the guys. I'm riding roller coasters with Sean, watch Drew and Jackson do a hot dog eating contest. And those are just kind of like what you were talking about, getting to just hang out with the guys. There's nothing better than that, especially when you don't really have to get locked in for a game later. You're kind of done for the day and you get to just chill and let loose with the guys. I wouldn't say there's anything too specific, especially like that I would share, but
That's fair.
Good times.
That's fair. What about like as a player, like was there, and maybe it's less specific, maybe it's just a series, but even like a specific home run or strikeout or something that you were just like that is going to stick with you forever?
It's kind of two series in one, and I'll say this: in 2022, both of our series versus the Preds, those are by far the most memorable. Regular season, we ended up sweeping them. That was the series Sawyer went off.
Yep.
And hit the walk-off in game 3, and I just remember everyone kind of looked at each other and said, hey, we can. That's where I felt like we could really do it and we can make it there. And then you move on to the playoff game. We lose game 1, fight back from game 2 when we were on the brink of elimination, win game 3, and boom, we're in the World Series. I think those two were two of the most fun, and just all the Preds. I feel like that was a good rivalry. Obviously, you guys always were, but I feel like we always play you early in the year. And
yeah.
The Preds always seems to be like a playoff type matchup, no matter if it's in playoffs or not. Those were always so much fun.
We either play the Cobras in the beginning of the year or like the very end of the year. Like it's a series. Yeah, it's like a series that it's like it doesn't matter at all, or the entire playoff picture is like on the line. Like I feel like that happens every time.
Yeah.
The Cobras were one, the listeners will know when we were discussing the shakeup of getting rid of the divisions. That's like the rivalry. I mean, everybody kind of has their division rivalries, but not knowing that we're going to play the Cobras every year. I just liked playing against you guys because I felt like it was a good rivalry. But I mean, on that note, I was going to ask you kind of like, favorite memory, like as a teammate, as a player, as a Cobra. I think that what you just described is probably, your favorite memory as a Cobra. But for those folks that have been around, in this league for a while, I mean, the Cobras have had their ups and downs for sure. But I think one thing that, you gave the Cobras was sort of this bridge from, and now we're hearing things that Drew might have more of a role on the mound this year. I guess to be determined. We'll see how long that lasts. But, Drew was and still is obviously the face of the Cobras. But you coming in and having the production that you did on the mound, especially in the first few years, I think helped kind of like move the Cobras into this new image of what we've coined like the Vibe Tribe, where like it was really before kind of like everything relied on the back of Drew Davis, and he was always like their strength and then like their demise if he didn't have a great series late in the year or in the playoffs. But I think that's like when I look at your career, that's kind of what I see is sort of like a closing of one chapter for the Cobras and an opening for another.
Yeah, I definitely see that too. When I joined the team, I think it was just him, Drew, Sean, and Andy, and I think he also drafted Gus that year, I believe, too. But so like those were kind of like staple guys, been there for a few years. Cobras really hadn't had a new guy, and I believe I was Drew's first ever draft pick.
I think so, yeah.
And so like kind of starting out, it's just kind of, us five with Gus and kind of a smaller roster. They all know each other really tight. You move on, we get Sawyer. Now that we got Caden, Zerlag, Justin, like it's the difference in the team is very fun to watch. And like to see, like thinking of the year before I joined the Cobras to now, like now they're probably Caden's going to be the ace next year. I think Ash is going to be phenomenal too, and he's only a rookie. Like how much different that team is, and how many different players Drew's given a chance. Like I think it's cool to see. And it kind of also goes with the rest of the league, with all these drafts, all the new guys coming in. I think that's going to continue to happen, especially us older guys.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think the Cobras aren't, alone in that, where there's teams like even use the Wildcats as an example, right? Kyle has always been the face of the Wildcats, still is the face of the Wildcats, but used to be, the number one ace for sure, right? And isn't anymore. He's definitely still their best bat, and I think will be for the entirety of his career whenever he decides to hang it up. But I think there's a lot of similar teams like that. But another guy the Cobras added was your brother, obviously, Chris,
yep.
Who is also retiring. So I guess a couple questions on that point. Was this like a combo? Was it like a package deal? Like we're either both going out or we're both staying? Or was it just kind of worked out that way where both you guys, it made sense for you to retire the same year?
A little bit. I kind of told Chris that I was kind of thinking about not playing, and I asked him, what do you think? He's like, I don't really know. Because obviously, I drove down every time with him, and it's a lot easier when you have someone with you. And I know he kind of talked to Drew about it and was kind of like, well, if his play time wasn't really going to go up, he didn't really want to do the drives by himself for all the games. And so I think in the end, he just decided, I'll be done too. Because it's tough. It's tough. And I can't even imagine some of those guys, you think of Pishka or Jeremy that are driving much further than I am. And like, I can't imagine that. Especially like I hate doing it when Chris used to not be on the team.
Yeah. No, it's a commitment. It's a commitment for sure.
Yeah.
So it like what's the age difference between you and Chris?
He's 4 years younger, so he's 22 and I'm 26.
Okay, because I was gonna ask, like, had you ever played on a sports team with him, like in anything else? And the answer, I guess, might be no if you're 4 years apart.
Nothing other than wiffle ball. So we started playing wiffle ball when I was 12 years old. He was on that team when he was 8, and we played on that team for years together. And then we come over and we did wiffle in the mitten. But wiffle ball is the only sport that we've gotten to play together, and I think that's why we liked it so much.
Yeah,
exactly. The 4-year age difference. We weren't even in high school together. We didn't have a chance to play another sport. But it was a lot of fun getting to play with him, and I still am. But
yeah. So that was going to be another follow-up question on that. Like, is there plans to continue playing wiffle ball outside of MLW? Because I know you have other. I'm not sure if there's more than one other league that you're playing in, but I know you do play outside of MLW. So is that something you think you're going to continue?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think we're still going to play in the Kalamazoo League. It's closer. I know that I'll be able to make most to all of the games. that one's a little bit easier. It's only about a 50-minute drive for us. And then we'll probably still do the tournaments. And I'm hoping at some point to get back to a wiffle in the mitten here or there. But who knows? Maybe down the line, because I still want to see the boys around, and I'm sure I will at some of those bigger wiffle ball tournaments.
So you're saying you'd like to do like the competitive fast pitch tournaments that like MLW sends teams to and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll continue to do that. Those ones aren't too bad. They're usually just one weekend.
Yeah. So I guess like you know, and you can give as much or as little detail as you want, but in terms of the Cobras fans that are sitting there going, why would he retire? I don't understand. Like, why now? Like, what are like the main drivers for you? And I think you kind of touched on for Chris, but just for the both of you kind of like, you know, retiring.
Yeah, right now it's just, got married in the last year. My wife and I, we got a dog, we got a house, and also I got a new job, which makes it kind of impossible for me to make any weekday games for sure with the drive. So I didn't really want to be the pain in the butt guy that we got to work the schedule hard around. And I didn't really want to be a guy who's only there for a couple series a year and I can't be reliable. So kind of is just the best thing to do, especially at this moment. And I said it to Chris and my wife. I go, I think I would definitely consider still playing if I lived closer. But just with the drive, I wouldn't be able to make any weekday games. So it didn't make a ton of sense. So,
yeah, no, I totally get it. It's a commitment, and I mean, it's no secret here. Like, if you guys have watched the channel for a long time, we've certainly begun to add younger talent through the draft, but at the same time, there's been a lot of guys who have been around in this league for a while and have, the sun, we're still going around the sun. So time's still going by. We're getting older. And I think just this is going to be a new kind of era in MLW. I think slowly we're going to see similar situations like this, right? Where it's a thing that is really fun to be a part of. And as long as you can make it work, like everybody wants to be a part of it. And then at the same time, life throws a lot at you. There's other commitments, other things that guys have. And what I love about that is the opportunity that it opens up for new people, because I think that the demand for players, quality players wanting to play in MLW has never been higher. And when there are retirements, it just kind of opens that door for new stars, new people to come in, new roles, and just like kind of fresh new look. So I actually appreciate what you say, Brendan, about not wanting to be the guy that's like, it's hard to plan around. Cause that is definitely like a huge factor in the summer when everyone's trying to, block out a 3-hour time that works for everyone. It's not as easy as you think. When you're in high school and everybody in the league is in high school, it's no problem. And then when people start buying houses and getting dogs and having kids and having jobs, it gets a lot more complicated. So I think we do a pretty good job of managing it, but it's certainly a factor.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially with now the age range of players, you got guys who are like, oh, I got high school baseball or lacrosse tournament this weekend. I can't do this weekend. Then you got guys who are like, I got my 9-to-5 job throughout the week, and my wife's gone this day, so I got to watch the kids. It's like it's a funny dynamic of trying to work out schedules.
No, absolutely. Do you think so? It doesn't sound like it, but is there any chance of like a Brett Favre situation here, like come out of retirement at some point for either you or Chris?
I wouldn't say there isn't a possibility, but some things would definitely have to change for that to be a possibility. If I ever moved to the east side, I would definitely give somebody a call. But right now, I would say not right now, but not out of the realm of possibilities.
That's fair.
Or if anybody loses a player going to the World Series, I told them I'd join. I'll go ring chasing.
So are you like, I mean, because I know there are players in this league, not going to name names, that are, they come, they show up, they play, they might be good, they might not be like the best players in the league, but they're not really tuning in like every Friday to watch the video and like follow the league. They obviously hear through the grapevine kind of like the results of things, but they're not like, alarm clock sounding at 4 p.m. on Friday trying to watch the videos. Do you think that you're going to follow MLW like in your retirement? Like, are you going to be actively rooting for the Cobras? Like, what do you think that's going to look like?
I think I'm going to for sure still watch MLW. I like the Friday videos. Get off of work, go watch it. I don't know, like, I'll have to see how the summer goes. Maybe I start getting a little lazy on it, but I know once it gets closer to playoffs, I'll be rooting on the Cobras. I'll be watching them every time they have a video for sure.
Awesome.
Still my guys. Still want them to do well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on, filling in the listeners. Again, congratulations to just a full, awesome, complete career. Not a lot of guys can say that. There's only been really a few people who have retired from this league that have had like a career length that long. There's been guys that have come in kind of what you expected it to be, where like, oh, maybe I play for like a year or two and retire. And this was kind of like, back when the league started more. So those guys, don't necessarily have like the tenure in MLW. So I do think you're in sort of the beginning of a group that's yet to come, but also in kind of rare air. So I appreciate you coming on, filling everybody in. I guess, if this is, I don't know when we'll hear from you next. I don't know when the MLW fans or the Cobras fans will hear from you next. So if there's anything else you'd like to say, anything you want to say to the Cobras fans or MLW, I'm giving you the floor.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you, all the players, Kyle, everyone behind the scenes, Mr. Schultz, Jack, you and Tom doing the podcast, and all the fans. It was a lot of fun. Wouldn't change anything for the world. I'm very happy I got to do it. I met a lot of great guys. Everyone in the league's fantastic. And I'm hoping I still see a lot of you guys around. Hopefully that we can talk at some point. I'll be following the league as much as I can. I'll comment on Instagrams. I'll talk some trash, get the boys going. But mostly just thank you to everyone who watched, who helped, who played, who just talked to me. And it was just so much fun.
It's awesome, man.
Oh, again, and one last thing.
Oh, yeah.
So they posted my retirement last week. And about an hour prior to the post, I posted on LinkedIn about my new job. All I got was DMs about my retirement. Nobody congratulated me on my new job. So I would just like to say Kyle overshadowed my LinkedIn new job posting.
Okay, well, after this podcast, if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, I'm going to connect and I'll like and comment on your job posting. Congratulations, by the way. Let me be the first one to publicly say congratulations to Brendan on his new job.
That's awesome. Thank you. I loved it.
That's awesome. Well, I again appreciate you coming on. Good luck with everything you got going on, being in a marriage, being a homeowner, dog owner. Just wishing you guys, a great year, and I hope we do hear from you soon. I hope to see you in the comments. If you ever, maybe we'll team up on one of those tournaments or something. Yeah. I think that would be fun.
I'd love to.
All right, cool. Well, thanks. Take it easy, Brendan.
Thanks. You too.
All right, guys, transitioning. I'm actually going to be moderating this as Tommy is in his car right now. Tom, I hear you've had a busy week with work, and so we're kind of doing this like makeshift second half of the pod to pick it up. But shout out to Jack, who did part one, talking about the Baran news, which is kind of it's bittersweet to announce. They're going on in life, but we really appreciate what they gave to this league. But Tom, thanks for coming through here on kind of on a whim.
Yeah, I know. I didn't listen to all of Jack and Baron's conversation yesterday. And again, thank you to Jack for stepping up in a big way. As I've been a terrible host, and I've been trying to make this thing happen for 2 days now. The
Ah, but
podcast this
you
week.
got life happening though.
I know. Well, I was gonna say Jack and Baron, I think, talked about the married life, and this week I've just been married to the game. I've been out here grinding, as I know you are too, Kyle. But yeah, happy to be in front of a camera here. It is literally 9 p.m. Tuesday, and I am in rural Ohio here, folks, pulled over to make this happen. But
Oh no.
glad to be on the microphone. I probably don't sound as quite as beautiful and professional as I normally do, but we're making it happen. We're delivering an episode nonetheless. And again, Jack, I think talked a lot about Brendan and his brother retiring, as well as mentioning the retirement of Zach Whalen. But a few more players on the move as well here, Kyle, that I want to dig into you, or I want to dig into with you.
Uh, yeah. In rural Ohio, huh? I feel like the last time you were there, we were eating waffles. Are you near a Waffle House by chance?
Oh, I'm sure I am. I'm sure I am. I would like to think the greater Findlay, Ohio area has a Waffle House nearby. And quite frankly, it might be the only place open right now for me to get some dinner. So,
And you've not stepped foot in a Waffle House since that fateful day?
no, and there's no shot I do tonight. I need to get home. I'm
God.
2 hours from home. It'll likely be a Taco Bell night for me. So, shout out to Nick Saylor. It's his pregame meal, my post work meal tonight. I've eaten so clean lately, but it's going to feel good to get some T-Bell after this, I think.
Nice. Well, there were a couple of moves that the boys did not talk about. Obviously, Jack talked about the Baranowskis retiring, and Waylon, kid who's been in this league since 2016. Big shout out to him. Just so grateful for what he gave. But there's also some more Diamondback news that I want to talk to you about. First, the Eagles are receiving Carter Richard for a kind of conditional pick in the 2026 draft, as Waylon kind of departs. I kind of view this as a great kind of like Waylon 2.0 move. This Carter Richard kid, lefty, just crafty, puts the ball in play. I think he could be a perfect fit, and I think him and Carson are really going to split some time, and it's going to be a meritocracy thing to see who earns that 4 spot. Is that kind of how you view this thing? Just what was your initial reaction? Because I don't think you were really involved in like you really didn't know this was happening, right?
No, I mean it's funny because Carter Richard, that name was thrown a lot around a little bit by like Preston. He was asking about Carson and if we would get him or not. We decided ultimately not to pursue him on the Mallards, but um, I think it's probably a pretty good move for the Eagles. And you mentioned the whole Carson Urgitis situation, how it might be split time. Dan I think Dan took a stand early on the podcast. I think about how Carson was going to get a real shot this coming season as sort of a potential starter.
Mhm.
But bringing Carter into the mix, this is not a slight to Carson at all. But I feel like Carter has more of like a natural athleticism to him in terms of his the way he looks in the batter's box.
Hockey player.
Yeah, it's not to say that an unconventional approach, kind of like what Carson and Landon have, doesn't work because clearly it's worked very well for Landon. But I do think I do think that Carter rather is a great athlete and has potential. So with the Eagles being a little bit depleted on their roster, despite coming off a championship season, I do expect Carter to potentially be like a regular in that lineup.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on like how the draft shakes out for the Eagles.
Yeah. Two big things I really like here. The first is that Carter, who only received 3 plate appearances in all of 2024, gets just a much bigger role with the Eagles. Again, he could be a starter, really on day one. So I just can't wait for him to have a kind of like a full year experience with MLW in his second season. And then he also knows Landon and Carson pretty well, like the Bay City kids, like they're in the same league up there. So who knows, they can maybe carpool down there from there. But the chemistry factor is big within the Eagles, and they kind of maintain that with Carson Landon, and now Carter from Bay City. So those are some of the things that Dana's told me that he really likes a lot, and I think I think he could be one of those guys that comes out of nowhere and get some big hits this season.
Yeah, the Eagles are a weird team to me because again, they just won it all and they swept their way through the postseason. They made it look easy. And their roster isn't changing a ton. They lost Zach Whalen, who was definitely a guy that had a lot of talent. They Blade Walker's been a bit of a question mark in terms of his availability towards the end of last season and moving into this year. So he really was like a non-factor in that postseason and that run that they had. Um, so like I don't know. To me, it's like I feel like I'm calling them depleted, but they lost one of their four guys who like wasn't. He was a very reliable bat,
Hmm.
but he wasn't like their stud on the mound or like their key power hitter by any means. So if they can get moderate production, even moderate to limited production out of the spot that Whalen used to take up in the lineup, they're still going to be hard to beat just because of how good Dallas is. That's assuming that Dan's bat continues to be like a Silver Slugger caliber bat.
Yep. I think when it comes to the Eagles this year, it's really just going to be how bad do they want to repeat. Like they achieved all of their goals. They did everything they wanted to last year, and they were just so determined. So like with these departures, with Blade Walker kind of being a big question mark still, we don't know if he's ever going to touch a wiffle ball again. And they have all these new pieces, maybe even a draft pick if they keep it, because they still do have the number 8 pick in the draft. Um, yeah, it's just going to be how bad do they want it. We've not seen a repeat champ since 22 when the Diamondbacks went back-to-back, and that was a very special squad. One that actually did not perform well in the regular season, 5-10, but then wound up winning it all. And that's a perfect transition right now to some news that when we are recording this, I've not even posted about this. It kind of came together a little late with Carter gone. This is kind of another move that went in tandem with that per se. But Tom, Michael Shima is returning to MLW. Gut thoughts?
I've heard. I'm happy for the D-backs, the fans, the players. I know that's one of Jimmy's and Jonah's best friends. Grew up together. I think you guys got a sense of their friendship and childhood in that documentary following their first championship season. So it's a special group of guys. They have a lot of fun together. They're goofy. And I know Shima's been super busy, even when he was playing in MLW, still is with his outside life. But to see him come back, I know they're still involved like in other recreation sports as a group that Shima sometimes attends. Like I think they're in a slow pitch softball league. Jimmy's told me that him and Shima try to play pickleball together from time to time. So I know Shima still enjoys doing these things. It's just hard to commit fully.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like I'm just happy to have Shima's name back in the mix. Excited to see him at the Meadows. Maybe if we square off this year, shake his hand, give him a hug, ask him how he's been. So, like as a player who knows the guy, good dude. I enjoy his presence. So excited for that reason. And again, as a fan, I think it's cool just to see someone come back who you used to root for, won your team some championships. He had that iconic interview that was like, I've only been in this league 2 years and I got two of them, or
Yep.
whatever he said. So he's a good dude. I would love to have Shima on the podcast. Shima, I doubt you hear this, but would love to get you on and talk about your return and what made you decide to come back. I'm sure it was a sales pitch from Mr. James Bernard.
Yeah, well, a big reason why he is coming back, as I just kicked my tripod there, but he's going to play a major role this year. And I've been on record talking about the integrity of going out and say somebody's retiring. Like, how much does that affect things when they eventually return? Like, do people take it serious when then, future retirement announcements come? But the Diamondbacks are dealing with Casey Bennett, who's going to be away for really like the whole season. He might just attend 1 or 2 series. So that's a big question mark. There are some other things developing too that could change things, but they need bodies there, and bodies that are going to be in that starting lineup potentially, and ones that Norp loves playing with. It's been on record 2 World Series titles, so I was all on board with the fact that when Jimmy kind of contacted me and said Shima wants back in, he's going to play a major role. I think this could be exciting for the league. I'm like, yeah, this definitely makes a lot of sense. And I wouldn't I wouldn't do it if he just came back and like just rode the bench the whole season. But it's sounding like he's going to be a key player in this lineup, like he should be. So that's super exciting for the league.
Yeah, I like watching Shima play defense. He's a stud out there, so I'm excited for that reason too.
Dude, if we did first team all defense, they got Norp, Pishka, and Shima. That could be the whole first team all defense right there. And Heath. Heath is a lethal first baseman.
He is. He uses that left foot over there on first.
They need to teach a class.
They're a good team. Just off of vibes alone from that group, they're going to be tough to beat. I already know that. Nice that I don't have to compete with them to get to a World Series anymore, I guess, directly with the rule change this offseason. But if we do square off, it'll be fun. Excited to see that group again together. They're goofy. And again, overall, it's great. Jack and I on the pod, we always talk about the numbies. I think announcing the return of a guy like that, it's great for the numbies for the channel. Good Instagram post, probably get a lot of engagement. We'll see tomorrow, but time will tell.
Yeah, so for the fans that listen to this at like 6 or 7 a.m., like you're gonna be the first ones to hear about this. So don't try not to spoil it. Try not to spoil it on IG until like early afternoon or something, or early evening, because that's when I'll probably post it. But
is the graphic ready?
No, I'm working on another video that I have to announce very soon as well too. So like I'm doing a lot of things right now, but that graphic will be made tomorrow. That got me thinking,
wait,
Tom.
Side note. When is that video you're going to announce very soon? When are you thinking that's going to be uploaded?
We're looking at the 11th for that one, Tom.
Okay. Week and a half potentially for a theoretical video?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those type of videos it takes 6 weeks to make, 6-7 weeks. I think you guys can kind of follow the crumbs to the cheese here.
I like that.
You guys know what I'm talking about. That announcement will be coming probably this weekend. We'll probably promote it all week. But that's what I've been working on this past month. Tom, last thing, we talked about the Diamondbacks defense. If MLW held a league-wide clinic or camp, I think the Diamondbacks would run the defense station. What would the Mallards run? What would your station be?
Oh, man. That's just not the question you want to ask me with the seasons that we've had lately. I would
Podcasting?
say... No. Look, I'm in a car in Ohio.
To start your own podcast.
Yeah, I'm not the one to coach you on that either lately. Maybe about a year and a half ago, I'd say sure. But the Mallards would coach on
medical sales.
No, we would coach on how to embrace your strengths.
Nice.
You don't gotta fix your weaknesses. Just embrace what you're good at. For that worked for me for a couple of years there when I was hitting a lot of home runs, hitting for power. I didn't really try to fix my swing. I knew it wasn't great, but I was like, I've been good at swinging hard and hitting the ball hard. Let's just try to hit more home runs. And we did that. And I try to preach that to all my guys. So I think I would just coach you on, if you're good at one thing in this game, get really good at it. Because you'll stand out rather than being mediocre at everything. So that's what I would bring to the table. I actually have a question for you, Kyle, as a commissioner of a professional sports league. I need your thoughts from a commissioner's.
I know where you're going to ask me.
Yeah, okay, I know.
Torpedo bat.
Question. Yeah, for all the listeners.
Yes, it's legal.
I know it's legal, but I just want your thoughts, good or bad.
Sure.
From a commissioner's chair who's worried about integrity of the game, the media, the popularity of the sport. What's your thoughts on potentially introducing some new technology for hitters to use to their benefit? Even though I understand the media has blown this way out of proportion. It's like 3 guys using it, but...
Yeah, you're just talking like what's my stance on the MLB situation?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I mean... Get your thoughts.
To my knowledge, there's a diameter limit and there's a weight limit maybe, and they are confiding by all of that. And I believe it's really only like 2 or 3 players like from the Yankees and a couple others around the league. I think we need like a little bit more of a long term. What's the thing? The sample size is way too small right now. We need to see how these guys that are using it, like how their stats compare to when they use previous bats, which is actually pretty interesting. So I do like that. Like you can't just ban. It's like I hate when things are selective, like selective banning, like we talked about, like the tush push, like that's a selective. That'd be a selective like change because one team's good at it and like 29, 30, whatever it is, teams others like aren't. So I'm all for it. Like I think it's not like expanding the barrel. It's just like I think it's more of a mental thing. When you have that shape, you're really just focused on connecting more with that singular spot on the barrel as opposed to just kind of connecting anywhere beyond that sweet spot. Could be the end of the bat, might not, but I'm not a MIT scientist, but from my knowledge, it looks fine.
Yeah, I wonder if it feels different, like when you actually connect with the ball. I'm really not opposed to it either. I need like statistics. Like everyone's just seeing home runs. Like when I say statistics, I mean like the stuff that's behind the scenes, like the exit velocity and like the average launch angle with the bat. Like, is it actually providing an advantage that way, or is it just like the guys that are using it are now barreling up balls because they adjusted the sweet spot of their bat? And if they did, I don't see a problem with it if everybody else can do it too. Like, everyone's crying about the Yankees because Judge hit 3 home runs in a day, and like other guys hit home runs too, but their ballpark is small. They've always hit a lot of home runs.
Dude,
And
also,
I don't think Judge is using this bat.
it's less surface area too. Like, I feel like what could have previously been bloop singles off the end of the bat will now be strikeouts or pop-ups. Am I crazy for saying that?
Off the end of the bat, I'd say it's like gonna go nowhere. Yeah, because you have nothing.
It's nothing there. I mean, like,
I really don't know. Like, I
shifted
need
it
to
all.
actually like hold it. I need to actually like hold it and swing it to see if it actually makes a difference. Or
It looks like they just compress
I
the
think
bat.
I
the
think the
barrel.
sample size again is way too small. Let's give it like 3 months, and then
Torpedo
see like
bat.
how many guys are using it. If league-wide batting averages are going up.
Yeah, it's gonna.
I agree. It's like kind of lame if like guys are just jacking home runs all the time. But I don't think that's gonna happen because you still gotta put barrel on the ball. You still gotta have the correct launch angle. You
Yeah,
gotta be able to read pitches. Like, I think it's just been a little bit of a
I think.
like the media has like been like, oh, the Yankees are using a new bat, and it's only 2 of the Yankees, and Judge has hit all these home runs without it.
Yeah.
So I think it's been misconstrued a little bit amongst the average ball knower.
Yeah, I think this is the definition of a fad, one that we will forget about in years to come.
I think it might be here to stay for some guys, but I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, the torpedo bat, like it's just another bat, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna trickle down to youth sports unless like these guys are going crazy and putting up 70 bombs a year. But another interesting segue from the New York Yankees to Staten Island, New York. Last thing for us to touch upon, Tom, you are playing in Staten Island at SIUH Community Park against the Preds, June 28th. How you feeling?
I'm excited for Robles. He's got
Yeah.
one sort of in his neck of the woods. I know he's a big New Yorker, a prideful New Yorker. So that's cool. I'm excited to play in front of a live crowd again. Like, the scenery around the park looks beautiful. I'm curious to see if it's a windy day and how that affects the game because we're near the water. But in an enclosed stadium like that, we'll see if it has any effect. But 2 years ago in the out-of-state series, I had one of my best series ever. Last year, I didn't really touch the ball all day, and I ended up benching myself. So I would love to, at worst this year, kind of meet myself in the middle somewhere and at least give the fans something to cheer about. So I'm excited for it. Preds are a fun bunch, too. So hopefully we get some good weather and put on a good show.
Yeah, just a few things from me on that. You know how much I love the experience factors of all the events we do. And for this to not be like a 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. start was a huge win for us. Like, it's 6 p.m. on a Saturday night. The lights will be on for the end part of the series and the meet and greet. The Staten Island Ferry is 100% free to anybody 24/7 for you guys that didn't know that. So you guys can ride that up to the game, ride it back, go to Manhattan, make a whole day out of it with your family, see the Statue of Liberty, see the NYC skyline. It's going to be in the backdrop of our series. It's going to be kind of like that Chicago backdrop where the perfect, like, all the skyscrapers in the background of our shots just makes for some really cool photo and video. So there was a lot of cool things for us to just pass this up, and this was actually a situation where they came to us. They were just big fans of the channel and thought we could collab. They saw what we did in Brooklyn last year, so it's not too far from there too. So East Coast fans, come show out. I can't wait to keep growing our summer stadiums. It's like huge passion of mine we've done so many things, and the event space is like what motivates me the most, because I have so much fun doing it and like meeting fans from all across the country and learning about their wiffle ball stories when they started watching the channel. The meet and greets are super fun, and just making a family friendly day and with some content involved too. Like, we've talked about it. It's the most fun thing we do. So another one scheduled June 28th.
Yeah, I agree. It's good stuff. But
do you have a fun fact for us, Tom, as we conclude this?
Fun fact is, today I developed a sore throat out of nowhere in the span of like healthy to my throat hurts very bad, about a 5-minute time span. So
Rip.
do with that information what you will. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Sorry for this janky Zoom video, but I'm here. I tried. I really did try 2 nights in a row, and here we are.
Maybe it'll be normal next week, but thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
it up, pipe it up, pipe it up, pipe it up, pipe it up.